Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hall's History Podcast. Today, we'll be taking a deep dive into the Akkadian Empire, and today, mostly, we'll be talking about Sargon of Akkad. I'm with my friend Zachary Martin here.
Good
I'm
evening.
Colton Sorensen, and let's get with it.
Okay. The Akkadian Empire was founded by Sargon of Akkad, who created the first multinational empire united Mesopotamia.
Now, that's some skill. You gotta have some skill to do that.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Like, even from a young age, he's been making quite the big
Yes.
decisions.
And him at a young age, we'll talk about that here in a minute.
And a fun fact is his name means true king, even though really he's not. His first empire that he was a part of, he was not the true king of. He was actually flowed down the Euphrates River and was found by a servant of Baba, the king.
Isn't the king of Urk, right?
The king of Kish.
Kish. Yeah, Kish. The Akkadian Empire is actually located, like, in the Mesopotamia Fertile Crescent area.
It was one of the first major empires that formed. Right about the same time as Egypt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like, because they do have a lot of cities in the area, but the big part of it was, like, when Sargon became a little bit older, is when he actually started to take initiative and start his empire up.
In his early days, he was actually cupbearer for the king, but then Lugazexi of Umma started a siege on Kish. Baba sent out Sargon to try to, sent him out to try to declare peace. And in the note that he sent with Sargon, in the note that he sent Sargon, that he sent Sargon with, he actually said to kill Sargon. But, unlike what you would think, Lugazexi did not kill Sargon, but recruited him to join forces. And together, they watched as Kish fell.
I mean, it's kind of like, what would Sargon be thinking at that point? Because, like, his basically father, you could say, his kingdom was falling to the ground. And he was recruited by another
king.
Yeah, by another king. And how the king did not kill him, but recruited Sargon. It's kind of like he felt something on Sargon
Sargon.
Yeah.
But that feeling quickly vanished when Sargon had an affair with the king's wife. Yeah. So, and then after that, they became arch enemies, and Sargon led an army to Uruk, their capital city, and captured it. Lugazalexi of Umma met Sargon at Kish, where Lugazalexi of Umma lost and was put in chains and marched in humiliation.
That's just, like, basically, like, cruel. Well, karma, kind of.
Yeah,
when you think about it. And even Sargon, he conquered and captured their capital when he has, like, very little military training.
Yeah, his army wasn't that big at that point. They just captured the castle.
And at this point, Sargon is, like, he's starting to get a little bit popular around that area because I guarantee messengers will be flying out cities telling about this person that, like, came out of nowhere basically and conquered a capital with a very small army.
I mean, I think it would have been pretty well known. I mean, he's friends with the king. He helped with diplomacy, and then out of nowhere, he becomes enemies. And I think everybody was just kind of took off guard by that, and he had a small rebellion.
Yeah, it's like you think everything's going fine, but then boom, you get hit by something. It catches you off guard. You don't know what to do. It started a panic technically. Said the Akkadian Empire.
Sargon, now with a massive army and nation, decided to keep on expanding through military campaigns and was intent on conquering the known world. William Durant states, "East, west, north, and south, the mighty warrior marched, conquering Elam, washing his weapons with symbolic triumph in the Persian Gulf, crossing Western Asia, reaching the Mediterranean, and establishing the first great empire in history."
Wow.
Quite the statement.
Yeah. And even like historians and stuff just stating facts that just happened. Well, we don't know if they were facts, but we can tell off of clues.
We can infer.
Yeah, we can infer. We also have clues. Like we have the tablets, we have hieroglyphics, we have a whole bunch of writing.
They didn't have hieroglyphs, they had cuneiform.
Oh, cuneiform, yeah.
Sargon was attacked by and this is one of his better feats. Like, this is really impressive.
Yeah, this is like
Sargon was attacked by the most powerful king in the land, Lugal-Zaggisi of Uruk, who Sargon swiftly defeated and took prisoner along with 50 commanders who Sargon shamed and executed.
Now that is
quite the feat.
The strongest king in that area.
What's the most military power and defeated him with little
people. Because if it's the most powerful and he captured the king and 50 commanding officers.
Mm-hmm.
That means he would have to have dominated them so fast and captured them that it would have to be in a battle of, what, a few hours?
Mm-hmm. Couple hours. Well,
maybe.
I think they probably met, and it was probably
a
large battle, but I think Sargon and his armies just overwhelmed them with chariots and their military tactics, which we are about to go over.
Yeah. And at this time, you can also see that Egypt is starting to...
Yeah, at this point, Egypt is beginning to take command down in south
of the Mediterranean.
Yeah, in Africa.
Yeah.
So they're becoming a major empire. And Sargon expanded military tactics with the development of infantry and cavalry units.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily cavalry, but it was like cavalry and chariots, and the infantry would fight in phalanx formations or shield walls, which was very inventive at their time, which is a strategy still used today that I can see in police forces, like riot control.
Yeah, and even also in the medieval, I think it was Europe.
Medieval Europe.
They took from the Akkadians and actually used their shield wall.
Yeah.
As you can see in those ones that are they're a little bit more popular, but Akkadians, and they basically dominated the entire Fertile Crescent and Mesopotamia area.
Like, if you look at Rome too, like Rome took over, was one of the most powerful armies in the world, and they used shield walls, just showing how truly inventive this idea was.
Shield walls, they were very effective in the ancient times.
Especially if you think about it, because other armies would ride on horses or whatever they had, and then they would just get cut down by the shield walls, and they were still under protection while they struck.
Yeah. And even they had cavalry units, but most of them were on the ground fighting.
Yeah, but you can't really if you were to try to get a shot off on the shield wall, and also if they had archers, early archers, or even javelin throwers, they can just open the shield wall swiftly and stab a couple people before closing up the wall again.
There is by King, the Spartans.
Spartans, yeah. The
Spartans. He said that they had so many archers that they would cover the sky, and he responded that they will fight in the shade.
Their weapons too. They were armed with cone-shaped bronze helmets and leather kilts, which are kind of
the kilts are like military skirts.
Yeah, kind of.
They're like armored skirts.
Like when you think of the Spartans, how they have like the leather strands hanging off their waist. That's what they mean by kilt. That's what it's like. If you look at the Irish, it's still very traditional. Still very traditional wear. Not so much as military, but now it's more traditional and ceremonial. But they also used bronze-tipped spears, which are very, very popular weapons throughout history. If you think about it, you have Egyptians use spears, Vikings, Spartans, Romans, everybody used spears.
And in the Roman times,
their spears were very, very powerful.
And
weapons.
some of them, I think in some battles, they would stick shield wall in front of them, and then put spears behind them, like people holding spears. So like there were spears poking through through the wall. So whenever they rushed, they would actually get stabbed by that, and that was super effective.
And the strategy, especially with round shields, tower shields have a lot more protection, but they were using I think they used tower shields. I believe it was tower shields. And those tower shields, you can just use them and nothing can break it because they're so square. Squares fit perfectly together. So they just you couldn't get a blow off, and then they could just pull one shield away, stab you, and then they will just cover it back up.
Yeah.
Another great innovation was their cavalry. They used wooden chariots pulled by 4 donkeys because horses were not yet introduced. And each chariot was manned by a driver and a warrior, and the driver threw javelins off the back and sniped the enemies. They were all highly trained and took no prisoners.
Yeah, and he even having that skill, you're driving a 4-donkey chariot with a wooden chariot in the back, but you're driving it, but you're also throwing javelins at people and actually hitting them. That takes a lot of skill, and you can see that Sargon trained these soldiers very well.
It was not just some military of a bunch of people who were like, oh, I'm going to go join the military. It was highly trained, highly skilled warriors who knew how to kill.
Yeah, they were definitely very strong. As we see here, they took no prisoners too. So if you were in that battle and Akkadians won, you're not going to be taken prisoner. You're going to die with your brothers on the battlefield.
For economic purposes, they moved into modern-day Iraq to open up trade routes to other nations so they could receive more materials that would help benefit their empire, but met heavily resistance from the Elamites, and eventually, by the end of his reign, crushed them down. And this is truly impressive, this last little tidbit.
Yeah.
Before his death, there was a large rebellion trying to overthrow him. They tried to overthrow Sargon, but Sargon crushed them down. And left the world with a fully intact nation. Though it would later fall many years later under the control of Cyrus the Great.
And that was today's podcast.
Yep, thank you for joining us, and hope to see you next time.